Hello and welcome to the Profitable Coach Podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Rich, and as the founder of the Bold Life Movement and a fellow coach for more than 7 years, I know the challenges that many of you face when launching or growing your coaching business. And I'm here to pull back the curtain on the coaching industry and help you overcome roadblocks to make the impact you were born to make. Each week, I'll be interviewing successful coaches from every corner of the industry to share exactly how they have managed to generate massive impact and income. From strategy to psychology, we cover it all. This show is presented to you by Transformation Academy, a global marketplace of courses and coaching certifications. So whether you are already part of our epic community or you're brand new to this show, if you're ready to learn what it takes to turn your passion for service into a profitable business, then keep listening. You are in the right place. Welcome back to the Profitable Coach Podcast. This is episode number 52 with Oliver Mɑh-nɑh-leh-seh. Oliver is a longtime entrepreneur turned coach and now author of The Daily Prosperity Method. And he realized that his life, though successful, was not full of meaning and purpose in the way that his soul was longing for it to be. And so a few years back, he actually pivoted from a very successful real estate investment business to becoming a coach. And everything shifted at that point. And so today in our conversation, we talk about some of the different marketing strategies that he has implemented over the years, what he's really learned about having versus not having a solid marketing strategy, and how this book is really a pivotal point in his coaching journey. So if you want to get access to all the resources that we talk about in this episode, head over to theprofitablecoach.com/052 and pay attention, because next week I will be announcing our winner of our 50 episode celebration review contest. It's a mouthful, but if you entered into our contest by sending in a clip of your review, then just know that next week's episode, I'll be announcing the winner, and I can't wait to shower you guys with a brand new free coaching certification. So without further ado, please welcome to the show, Oliver. Welcome back to the Profitable Coach Podcast. I'm joined today by a friend of a previous guest, Kevin Dabrowski. Welcome to the show, Mr. Oliver Mɑh-nɑh-leh-seh.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here with you, Kim, and to have this delightful conversation, and appreciate you shouting out Kevin as well. I love you, Kevin.
Yeah. Shout out, Kevin. I love getting to expand my network and getting to expand the offerings that we provide here on the podcast through epic past guests. And it was really fun for me to kind of go down the Oliver rabbit hole and see what it is that you're creating. I know that you've been in this world now for a while. So to give the listeners a little bit of backstory, can you tell me, what was your catalyst to joining the coaching movement, if you will?
Yeah, I think that's a really great way to put it, because it does take a catalyst to really spark that transformation, to make it happen. And I think for myself, it was really, I really thought I had things figured out, because I really tapped into my passion for entrepreneurship, starting my own business and real estate investing. When I was in university, I kind of reconnected or reclaimed that dream that I had from when I was a kid, essentially. And a big part of my path was leading towards starting my first company when I was 23 years old. And so here I am, my vision was starting to come to life, and we were buying investment property, building a little portfolio, and we were packaging these investment properties and selling them to different investors in Ontario, in Canada, and Alberta as well. And so things for me, I'm like, wow, this is really cool. I'm actually making this happen. But even though I was doing all of the right things, where I figured out what my passion is, I had a sense of what my purpose was, and I was doing something that was kind of creative and fun. Once it was starting to roll and we were getting some recognition, I felt like something was really missing. And it almost lost its sense of meaning for me. It kind of lost its spirit, really, because it just turned into this path of do more deals, get bigger investors, go for bigger investment properties, And I'm like, how is it that for so many years, from 18 years old till 26 years old, I'm establishing this vision and I'm manifesting it, and I can see the next 30 years and I'm doing exactly what I set out to do. And it's like not enough. Like I should be grateful. I should be proud of myself. And it really turns out that there was a deeper sense of purpose that was missing. That there was I was realizing that I could be doing way more with my gifts than just as much as I love the people that I help who are in that world, and I applaud and I celebrate the types of accomplishment that they have in that world of generating wealth through real estate and things like this. For me, I felt like there was another use for my gifts. And, throughout that path, I just had this weird gut feel of, hey, maybe I should help other people. I was able to start my own business at a young age. Maybe I could help other people who are passionate about real estate quit their jobs, go full-time into real estate. So I had some mentoring experiences of like helping people, unblock their limiting beliefs and see their blind spots for them and shortcut their path and see amazing results. And so that was one of the dots that I was connecting throughout this process. And it was really, it was a dark night of the soul for me, because the moment that I realized and kind of acknowledged for myself that this was no longer authentic for me, I couldn't come back like the Monday after that realization, living the lie. That's kind of just how I felt. And so that led to this whole rediscovery process.
I love that. We just got finished a couple months ago, actually, wrapping up a life purpose live certification program with Transformation Academy. And I find that that's like such a similar story for so many coaches. They just kind of have this like reckoning moment that what they're doing is not what their soul came here to do. And there's a bigger why, a bigger mission. And I love seeing so many people like turn that on and just go for it. So I'm going to jump ahead for a second, and then I want to go back and kind of connect the dots for people to paint a picture of how you've been able to build this business. But I'd love for you to tell us real quick, what is your current like product suite? How do you serve people, and what are the different ways they can plug into your world?
Yeah, so the work that I do, it's really for people who they want to do more good with their gifts. And they check off a lot of boxes in life. And they should be grateful, but they know that something is missing inside of them. And, they look outside of themselves for different solutions, different answers, consume lots and lots of information. And it doesn't end up really filling that void inside themselves. When they finally start working with me, for over 11 years, I've had a private coaching practice working one-on-one with high achievers, entrepreneurs. And, the work that I do is to shift the focus. Like, hey, you know a lot. I don't know if you need more strategy and more knowledge and more, busyness and complexity.
Yeah.
What if we look inwards? And I think there's a lot of avoidance in looking inwards because there's messes that we don't want to look at. There's things about ourselves that we don't want to own up to. And also sometimes asking questions about, well, am I happy? Who do I want to be? Where do I want to live? And what do I want to do? Sometimes those questions they're threatening the stability of your life. And so I think it takes courage to ask those questions and realize that just because you're asking them, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are doing anything about it. You're just kind of reconnecting with, what are you getting what you want out of life? I love Naval Ravikant, how he says the true test of intelligence, the true measure of intelligence is, are you getting what you want in life? And so ultimately that's kind of the type of person that I work with. And, when we start working together, it is a lot of one-on-one coaching. And just in the last couple of years, I've opened up a group coaching practice. So, people have been getting a lot of value in that. That's more of a newer world for me because I've been really dialed in with my one-on-one clients. I love the depth of the relationship and we spend lots of time together, right? We spend at least a year together on these transformations. So, and
Oh, I love
more
that.
recently, it's the book, right? So I've released a book to kind of create a toolkit of all the things that I've learned and what I have gleaned from my own experiences, and also the results of my clients, and put in what I think is the most foundational principles and practice to create that personal transformation.
Yeah, I love that. So I heard you say that you work with people typically for a year. Is that the offering that you initially give to them when they come into your world, or is that people who have re-signed multiple times because they're just getting so much progress with you?
It's a little bit of both. Like when I first, like right off the bat, started my coaching practice, I couldn't see how I could just help somebody with like a session. Like here, I'm doing coaching sessions. Granted, I had like a learn before earning phase of my coaching practice, where it was like just be in coaching conversations all day, all week, as many people as possible, paid, not paid, donation, and having a few who were like full year clients signed up, just so I can gain mastery in it. But yeah, for the majority of my coaching practice, what I am inviting people to step into is at least a year to work together. And I've had many people continue after that, because as you solve problems, new problems show up, and new opportunities for growth show up.
Yeah, 100%. And so I'd love to hear if you have any advice for people who they're not really in the headspace of learn before you earn. It's more, I need more certifications. I need to be ready before I start. Do you see the nuanced difference? I'm wondering if you have any advice to help people like transition from one to the other, and then just start coaching.
Well, I think it's admirable to invest in yourself and to gain skills, strategies, tools to get your, to improve your game, essentially, right? To, be even more effective as a coach. But I feel like the majority of the people who are drawn to this are people who have experienced, the wounded healer archetype. So they have experienced a lot of pain from their own circumstances, relationship, money, business, health, spirituality, purpose. And they've kind of pulled themselves through it. And so I think when we look at the process that we have taken ourselves, I mean, there's so much insight in there that's, in many ways part of the magic. And I think the certifications can provide structure or evidence or more support for that, for that unique process that you've gone through. And I think a lot of it is really checking in with yourself of like, because there's so much information and it's beautiful and we can be consuming all the time. But when does it turn into an avoidance strategy? Like when does I'm adding more knowledge, I'm adding more strategies, and it's a shiny object, and it's actually, rather than following through on the thing that I set out to do and I know will work once I consistently and persistently move through it, I've already taken the foot off the gas pedal. I'm starting a new path. I'm starting a new thing. So I feel like there's an aspect of, we got to check in with ourselves and say, is consuming an avoidance strategy from creating? Is learning an avoidance strategy from, actually making yourself, like revealing who you are, sharing aspects of yourself that are real, that are, there's a risk of being judged for it. But also it's part of being of service, right? Actually, they're called gifts because you're meant to give them away, right?
I love that. Yeah, we talk a lot about your mess is your message. You've probably heard that before. And I think that it's
easiest and most fruitful when you're first starting out to really just focus on serving a past version of you. So that way you understand the transformation that takes place. You can reverse engineer the steps that got you from A to B. And it's easy to like speak to those people because you can get inside their heads. So I'm curious, when you were first starting out, who were the people that you were helping and how were you finding them?
In the beginning, it was very like I made an offering to help everyone, like everyone who had a connection with me. I made this available to be able to just use my gifts. I mean, there was like an aspect. There was a little bit of there's a seed of that awareness that you're talking about. I've coached clients who are coaches or just starting as coaches sometimes as well. And, one of the lessons is you are your client. Like that's kind of like the first stage of your development. Like you're saying, right? Like who were you a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago? Like what would you teach them? What skills would you invite them to, adopt and learn? And I think to me, it was very much like spiritually bankrupt entrepreneurs, high achievers, people who've lost a sense of meaning and fulfillment. Is very similar to
you
to now. Yeah, exactly. And it's similar to who I was, right? And
yeah,
I think all of these things, they cycle back. It's almost like what good is self-healing, self-expansion if it's happening in a cave? If it's, I feel like, sure, you can be enlightened and you can feel one with everything and you can be blissed out in that way. But if you're not using it to do more good, for yourself, for those around you, your family, your community, if you're not turning around and, paying it forward in that sense, like it's kind of an incomplete process.
Yeah, I love that. What good is growth in a vacuum? So good. So
Yeah.
circling back, because I know this is a question that my clients have all the time. How do I find them? How do I find the clients?
Right.
So I'd love to hear over the years, what are some different marketing strategies that you've tried? Where do you share your message? Now I know you have the book, but what have been some different things that have worked and that haven't?
What doesn't work is not marketing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, honestly, Kim. So I've been in a deep process of like trying to understand marketing and business strategy, because from 2012 to like 2022, marketing was an afterthought. Like I did not think about marketing. And a part of it is in real estate, I was really good at marketing and it got us a lot of recognition. But I carried this judgment of that version of myself of like really this inflated ego of just this person that I turned into, that I created. And I don't know, because I kind of shattered that identity, there was almost like this fear of reverting back to that workaholic, just working 60, 70 hours and just constantly pushing and grinding and hustling. Cause I was like, that's not me. And I don't want to turn into that guy. So for many years, marketing honestly was an afterthought. I was just like, if I can help somebody tap into their power to transform their life, I'm going to trust that ripples out. I'm going to trust that actually turns into people spreading the word. Like the best marketing is doing good work, right? Like providing a beautiful service, providing lots of value. And I did some things, like, podcasting, appearing on podcasts, getting on stages, hosting live workshops, creating content, posts on
marketing.
Social media. So there's like doing things here and there, but to me, marketing is following a system, having an actual path for creating calls. And, the number one problem that not just coaches, but any type of service-based entrepreneur is the flow of opportunity. Like if you want consistent income, you have to have a consistent flow of opportunity. To do that,
you need a lead generation
have a
vehicle.
system. You need a lead generation vehicle that you have the capacity to do. that you can become consistent in, or you can install consistency in it, whether it's team or a process or something that's has some automation or paid ads or whatever it is. And so that's kind of like why the last 2 years I've been more like studying and becoming a student of marketing, because I was just very lucky, like with referrals, and then eventually, like what we said earlier with we brought up Kevin Dubrowski's friendship, guidance, mentorship with pricing. That unlocked the phase after like learn to earn, turned into how do I make the most while working the least in my coaching practice. Now I know I'm amazing. How do I point my skills to the people who will value these results even more, so I could actually charge a more appropriate fee for what they are getting? And that actually created a lot of momentum and lots of free time. And it was really powerful, but also like it bites you in the butt when you don't have the next new person coming in. And if you're just magically getting referrals coming in, okay, then maybe I'm the type of person who gets disincentivized by that. I'm just like, oh, I guess I don't have to market because people are just falling, on my lap. Great, this is beautiful. But eventually, that's not a reliable strategy. So it's hurt me for sure, and that's kind of why I'm so like adamant about thinking about those pathways.
Well, it sounds like you're in the process of kind of a rebirth, right? You've gone through this past, I don't know, what is it, 10 years, 12 years, redesigning who you are in business and who you are as a partner and who you are as a coach. And now you get to kind of marry those two versions of yourself. The one that was like, I could freaking crush in business, and it's not the end all be all. I really want to serve, and I want to be available for my family. And so how can we intertwine all of those things together? So just to recap, I'm hearing you say, yes, you can show up in service and be the right energy and people will refer you. And if you want something that is reliable for the long term, figure out a marketing strategy.
That's figure it out, test some, adopt some, invest in some, keep a record, actually create a checklist, create a system so that you know that you are following an actual repeatable process. So it's like, I always think of what's the most relevant problem. Like we can be solving problems all day, but if it's not the most relevant one that's right in front of us, then it won't take us to the next milestone, to the next goalpost, right? And so, really there's if you want speed, in my experiences, it's the warmest people in your circle. They already know you, they've already followed you, you already have a relationship with them, they're in your list, you've been in contact with them, you've already had discovery calls with them. Those have the highest potential to turn into your next clients and maybe turn into referral sources. And like that's where I would go first if that is what you are trying to do. But ultimately, I find that if you are putting yourself in positions where you are in conversations, that is what unlocks it, right? My coach Hans Phillips, he taught me business only exists in conversations. If you're not having conversations, it is not a business day. So whether it's like this on a podcast or on video or messaging people or phone call, like phoning people, like if you have the ability to actually phone people, that means you have a connection with them, and you have no idea what kind of why the universe puts people in front of you. Like if you're at a coffee shop and you bump into somebody that you haven't seen in over a decade, which just happened to me on Friday, who knows why we've been brought back together, and we're going to be seeing each other next week, in terms of something to learn from one another, something to be excited about together, ways that we can serve and support one another, things that we've learned that we can help crystallize with one another. And that's ultimately, like, anytime I was in a jam, I always thought, be in as many conversations as possible, be of service, find ways to support, and ask for support. If you
Yes.
are looking for referrals, looking for business, or you get the intuitive impulse that this person is leaning in to your insights and your advice, you ask them, would you like me to help you with this? Like, you have to ask. There's a way to do it elegantly. Yeah, it's an invitation. You can do it classy. Yeah, they can say no. Referral? No. Want me to help you? No. Great. Okay. Cool. But if
the answer's always no until you ask.
If you've read The Prosperous Coach, yes lives in the land of no. I love that.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. You mentioned referrals. I think this is an underutilized tool in the toolkit for coaches, is incentivizing your current clients to refer people to you and giving them a cut. Have you implemented that in that way before?
I actually only just recently created a referral rewards program, and I had never really thought about it intentionally before. Anytime that I would try to thank somebody, I was just rejected. Like, it was just like people, it's like, no, I just want to help people. And if I can connect people and they can do more good, amazing. But I feel like it's helpful. We're in a world where that creates options for people, right? If someone makes a trusted relationship and they introduce you to someone, that's like, there's so much honor, so much beauty in that. So there's to be able to enroll a client that was introduced by a friend or a past client, and finding a way to thank them, whether it's a monetary or a gift or doing a donation in their name, whatever it is. I think it's a beautiful practice, because makes it not all about you. But I think and that's the thing, right? Like, I had 70-80% referrals for many, many years. So like, there was not much that I needed to do in terms of marketing, but that was marketing. It just wasn't a system. Like, I couldn't say, hey, Kim, here's my document for how it works, how my referral process works. I wasn't thinking that way. I was kind of in la la land, just staying in this is magic, this is just a strategy that's going to take away the magic.
Yeah.
But reality,
I think you're not the only one with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, that's kind of like, I feel like we have to marry those two worlds of, like, there's intuition and there is magic and there's synchronicity. There's serendipity that happens, and there's only so much we can do. And the rest of it is not really up to us. There's other forces that are happening, other people, their choices, what they're going through, them randomly thinking about you and pointing people. Like, you have no control over that. But, the way that I look at the referrals is like, if you're asking for support and people understand who you serve, how you serve them, they're passively always listening for opportunity for you. They're not trying, but as soon as like something happens, like in a conversation, they're like, oh wait, that reminds me of what Kim does. That reminds me of what Oliver does. Like, I feel like you guys should really connect. Because it's almost like, so when I think about business existing conversations, I create a list. I'm like, who do I want to love and care for this week? Who do I want to send love, send support, send healing to? Who could because I promise you, like, if you are a coach, if you're a newer coach, people would rather hang out with you for 50 minutes, an hour on the phone or coffee than whatever it is that they're doing in their day. Like, there's a lot of things that they would, rather not be doing, and they would rather hang out and listen to you, be there for you, or get your support, or just be in your energy. Like, yes. Obviously you become a coach because there's a power inside of you that that you can create transformation and inspiration. Yeah
I love that. I think that that's so like under talked about. And going back to what you were saying in terms of, you need the magic and you need the serendipity and you also need the strategy. This is I think one of the biggest like opportunities inside the coaching industry right now is to help people to merge what is uniquely magical about them, what just naturally flows out of their heart, and what is some repeatable systems, some strategies that can help them stay plugged into that and not have to turn back to something else that pays the bills better, right? And like create something long term. I'm hosting a retreat in November called the Heart of Business Retreat. And it was just like this divine spark of inspiration that came to me. And within a week, I had soft launched it and sold half the spots, which has never happened before in any of my retreats.
Wow.
So I'm like, this is a perfect example. This is an embodiment of trust the inspiration, create a container, create a system so that now there's this like, launch process that I will move through to help support the rest of the spots. But I didn't wait to have the process before making the invitation. I trusted that you can combine both messy inspired action and strategy. So a little bit of a tangent, but it feels important.
Right? Like congratulations, by the way. That's sick. I love that.
Thank you.
The heart of business. I also love that you're like the I Quit Instagram workshop.
Break up with Instagram. Let's go.
Break up with Instagram. That's what it is. My wife's been off social media since September of last year. Just loving life and just so present and, very, very, she's treating this time very like in a sacred way and it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. And like to bring the heart back into your business is like, oh, that makes like, it just speaks so loudly, just that title. And I would love to see the page so I can see like, what you laid out in terms of, what resonates with people. And I think that's so true, right? But the messes, it's like there is a process and you don't need to like have one and perfectly done and then you go and do it. It's almost like you have to do stuff and record what you're doing and then start assessing at least each week what's working, what's not working. So I'm like a big fan of doing reviews, like a weekly review where you can check in with yourself and find out like what's working, what's not working, what adjustments do I need to make. And, and part of that could be checking in with some of these experiments that you're doing, right? Like it just makes so much sense. But, I think one of the drawbacks is if you're a new coach, I know this is true for myself. I'm like, but I got here. I'm doing this because I want to do what I love. I don't want to be on social media. I don't want to be posting every day. Like I want to do what I like doing. And so then there becomes a chunk of stuff like paperwork, content, newsletter, freebies, low ticket things. And it just goes on and on and on. And I'm like, oh, is this what I signed up for? I just want to do sessions. I just want to help
solutions,
people.
only trade-offs, Oliver.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so that's just growing up, I guess. Like,
yeah. Yeah. And this makes me think of Ben Hardy's book. Dr. Benjamin Hardy wrote a book called Who Not How. And so if you are in this place in your business where you're like, ugh, I don't even know how to do that. I don't want to do that. Who can you outsource it to? Or what can you outsource it to? Optimize it, then automate it. Then if it's something that a person needs to do, then outsource it. But figuring out ways to not waste your time, not spin your wheels and throw the proverbial spaghetti at the wall.
And all of that testing phase, right, of finding out what works for you, it's so necessary, right? Like I love that you say, the messages or the mess turns into your message, because that's how you find out what is resonating with people, like what's landing for people, what feels good to say, what are people drawn to. And then as soon as that gets more clear for you of like, oh, this is the story of the person that I'm here to help. And this is, like one of my friends, he's really good at this, Byron Van Pelt. He's really good at like making content where it feels like your dinner conversation's being interrupted. It just makes you like put everything down. You're just like, oh my God, this guy just dug into my soul. Like, and so when we can, and that takes work. You can't just theorize about it. You have to produce, you have to create, you have to publish, you have to hit publish, you have to record, you have to do all these things and let people witness that, consume it, and react to it, for you to find out that information that you can then have like, all right, the system supports this, right? There's a clarity there of what you are bringing to the world, and now you can put a system behind it, because you put a system behind something that's perfect, but then you haven't worked out on that. No, you have to create that mess first, 100%.
Yes, and this is what we talked about 2 episodes ago. I had a solo episode about being prolific over being perfect. And I think a lot of new entrepreneurs, new coaches, new creators, whatever people want to resonate as, they're so worried about having it be perfect, especially if it's like their first thing and they want to make sure that they look as professional as, they're comparing their level 1 to someone's level 100. They don't see the 10 years that have been leading up to that moment for someone. And so you get to have the 50,000, 500,000 followers or the 5,000 person list or whatever by being someone who just hits publish, by being brave and just sharing what you have with the world. And again, I'm not saying that needs to be on social media. I'm like really loving this movement of people moving off of social and finding other ways to spread their mission. But there are other platforms where you can be an expert and be prolific. And so this is your not so subtle reminder to go do that.
I find that if I am, let's say you make one piece of content per week or per month, in my experience, the whole world hinges on that. I feel like this has to produce, like this has to, be game changing. But when it doesn't get the response, you're like, oh, you've poured so much anticipation into it. But if you do it once a day, if you do it 3 times a day, 5 times a day, you're prolific, like you say, there's just less and less weight that you put on it. And so your self-worth doesn't get all tied up in it. And also it's like, man, you do the quantity, and then it starts to tease out what the quality is. And then you find out what the quality is, and then you continue with the quantity, but now it's with greater quality, more specificity, more potency. And that's so much work.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes, I actually had it I painted it on a little card and stuck it to this wooden pillar. When I lived in Bali, I had like a 2-story villa on a rice field. And so it was like all open air, and my desk would sit facing the rice field. Anyway, I put this Post-it that I painted on the pillar, and it said, God, I will take care of the quantity, you take care of the quality. So it was just like this co-creation. And I also want a little bit of a permission slip. I want to zoom out. And if one post or content or whatever is what you are able right now to create, if you zoom out, that's 52 pieces of content per year. If you have 1 out of 52 pieces like really hit, that's amazing. So just to give people like a little less pressure that you need to be producing every day or 3 times a day, Oliver's at like a different level.
Well, no, I'm only saying, and here's the thing, right? I'm very much
bridge,
not the hustle, like toxic productivity. Like part of my mission is eradicating toxic productivity.
Yes.
And toxic positivity. So there's just this forcing ourselves to do that might end up working against us. And the energy behind it can be so misaligned that it just, it's the antithesis of self-care for us, right? So I feel like what you're saying is, produce content, like God will take care of the quality. But also it's like, well, if you said it's your gift and this is your purpose, then you do it even if you feel like no one's paying attention. And you do it even though you have no idea what effect it is having, because it's your gift. And the amazing thing is I reconnected with a friend of mine who I haven't seen since probably university, I would say. And we went to elementary school together as well.
Wow.
And he was just saying, I have a job, I have kids, I have a side business, and I've been watching your journey and I'm taking so much from it. Like, thank you so much for being vulnerable and for sharing like what your journey has been, because I take so much inspiration from it. And I'm like, dude, you don't like you don't comment, you don't engage, you don't DM, I would have had no idea. So there's, what piece of content will hit? And what do you mean? Like, what do you mean hit? Like, people's lives are being transformed watching you, and they're taking inspiration from that, and they're applying it into their lives, and you don't even know it. And some people who will book a discovery call to work with you, especially if you're working towards like the premium and the higher end, they don't engage with the content. They consume, they watch, they listen, they learn, they build a relationship with you, and you might not even have any idea who they are once they book a call with you. So it's writing this book was a nightmare because if you post something, if you make something like a new program, like you, right? Like, hey, I made a new retreat. Let's find out like if people resonate with it. Can I book some seats? It's 3 months away or whatever it is. And then
can I rent the property?
Can I rent it? Can what's going to happen here? Writing a book. I was like a full-time writer for almost a year, and it's like showing up every day for hours, writing, editing, rewriting. I wrote 180,000 words, 80,000 of them ended up in there. I rewrote it 6 times. I changed the title. I thought it was done in February of last year, and it took another like almost like eight or 9 months after that of rewrites. And it's like writing something that you think is good, and then you also have doubt and fear and feeling insufficient as a human being, but still showing up every day, believing in it, and not even knowing if it makes sense to keep believing in it. But you're still doing it anyways, and you don't know how valuable it is until it's a finished product, until it gets to that end phase and it's actually out there. So if you can learn how to realize that there's different time horizons for this feedback loop, like you got to remind yourself, right? Like, is this what I'm put here for? Is this the best use of my gifts right now? Is there anything else I could be doing? And I think, do I believe? Because if you're a coach, if you're an entrepreneur, ultimately you see opportunity or value that other people can't see. You see potential in people that they might not see. And the magic of coaching is like, through your guidance, through your wisdom, through your questioning, through your inquiry, you can start pulling that out and showing them like with the mirror, like, do you see now? Like, can you see what I've been seeing this whole time?
I love that. Wow, I have so much compassion for your book writing process. I was telling Oliver before we jumped on that I'm in a very aggressive timeline for finishing my book, and I literally worked on it all weekend long. I did what I call a Focus 55, which historically has been with a group of other entrepreneurs where we hustle and like just work on our own projects and support each other in like a shared space. But this weekend I was basically on like a solo writing retreat, and my eyeballs were twitching at the end of every night because I was just like, so much screen time, but I'm committed and I'm excited and I believe. And, everything that you just said is so true. We have to get to a point in ourselves where we recognize it's never going to be perfect. We can put as much love into it as possible. And eventually we just have to hit the publish button or the post, submit, whatever, and trust that people are going to resonate with it exactly when and how they are meant to. So I honor you, and I have such a desire to read your book. So let's talk about the book. We have a few minutes left. Let's talk about the book. Because I read through the table of contents and I'm like, this is really valuable. So I want to know, of all the different things that you cover in there, what has been like the most impactful on your own personal life that you've implemented?
I don't like most impactful, also because it is the most difficult, and it's still the most difficult for me. So I teach in the book the pillar of surrender, which is, if you're a coach, you're an entrepreneur, you're a high achiever, there's a part of you that's like, don't tell me what to do. I control my destiny, right? If it's gonna be, it's up to me. Like that kind of mentality. But the fourth pillar is the pillar of surrender. And it's part of like the daily prosperity method is what the book is called. And it's the idea of treating each day as your opportunity of, energizing yourself, caring for yourself, so you have more bandwidth. Because if you don't have bandwidth, how are you going to do the damn thing, right? And then you channel it into doing the damn thing, which will create the momentum in your life and in your business. But once that's done, really, there's like, be present, follow the joy in your life, because you've taken control of what you can control, and to continually to fire those parts of your brain over and over again. To me, I haven't found that is useful or helpful. I find that there's a window in each day that we can produce up to 5 times as much results as of value than if we spent the whole day trying to work. And so once that's done, let go.
Yeah.
Things will be the way that they are. Be present, be grateful, savor the moments, find the beauty of what's already right in front of you, right? With your spouse, with your kids, with your home, with the food on your plate, with what your body is capable of in yoga or at the gym, or how, majestic nature is when you're out there breathing the fresh air, seeing, the trees and wildlife and the mountains and the sun setting on the horizon, on the water. And you have, today, nothing is missing. You have everything that you need. That doesn't mean be complacent. I feel like a lot of high performers will think, oh, if I'm content, then that equals complacent. Then I'm going to be like a sloth. No. The more content you are, the more you'll actually have the fuel, the aliveness to be able to channel it into what your pursuits are. What is meaningful for you to pursue, to get more of out of life, to do more good with your gifts. So we do live, in both of these worlds, right? We're humans who are playing this game of how do I get more out of life, and we're beings which are like, hey, I'm alive, and I'm in this eternal experience of the present moment, of the now, and nothing is missing. There's a roof, there's a bed, there's food, there's what do I have to complain about? And there's a tussle between those two worlds. So I'd say the hardest thing and the most impactful thing has been the windows in my life where I've been able to be like, it's not up to me. I can't. I've done what I could with the best of my ability. With the highest version of myself that day has shown up. I've controlled what I can control of, and the rest of it, it's time and life will do its thing, and let go.
Yeah, I love that. One of my biggest takeaways from a dear friend of mine, I was struggling with something interpersonally, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And she was like, how do you want to be? How do you want to be? And I've been able to apply that in so many ways in my life. When I wake up in the morning, instead of thinking, what should I do? Or if you're, faced with a problem, what should I do? It's just, okay, well, how do I want to be? And how you be dictates the actions that you end up taking. And also, it gives you a deeper sense of fulfillment and peace. Because if you're just focused on being the person, the human, the wife, the partner, the whatever business owner that you want to be, then everything else just sort of falls into place like Tetris. So I love everything that you just shared. Oliver, if you had advice, one piece of wisdom that you could give to all of our listeners, all of our aspiring and, hungry coaches wanting to make an impact on this world, what would it be?
Let me think about that for a second.
No pressure.
Yeah, if I only had one thing, I would say reveal who you are and remember who you are, because we show up on stage, we write books, we're on social media, we're building our coaching practices, our businesses, and So there's this different aspects of ourselves that we participating in the creation of. Like we are actively participating in the image that we want to project into the world. And it's a tool, right? These things are tools for us to be of service to others so that they are exposed to how we can help them and how we've helped others, so that they, the ones who want that help, they know who to engage with, like who to reach out to. So it's important. But it is so easy to lose ourselves. And like, I'll give you an example, right? So like I've been a student of marketing and I've invested heavily and I've done very, very like massive overhauls. I'm essentially in a new business, right? Like coaching program, scalable offers, a low ticket offer, which is in the form of a book, which is a marketing asset. Those are things that I never really like thought of until the last couple years. And the one thing that I realize is, as much as I love learning and I love seeing people who are amazing in what they do and producing incredible results, I'm like, okay, follow instructions. Like this is how like the story connects, really, how we feel like there's a void and we look outside of ourselves for an answer. And so I was doing it myself, right? Like this is what I help other people do, but I was doing it myself, where I found an answer and I'm going to duplicate that. I'm just going to follow instructions and do that. But in a way where it wasn't from that being place. I was forcing a lot and I was controlling a lot. And there was a rigidity to it. And I think a part of that is I have to give myself grace because it's new, right? Being more of a marketer and going from owning a job, which is a coaching practice, like have to do sessions, to building a business where I'm creating something that will help people, as opposed to me to be the one to help people. I'm trying to build something that helps people. It's newer, and so to adopt and absorb someone else's proven plan was just like a no-brainer. But it hasn't been until the last the last few months, where I'm like, I gotta look inwards again, because there's stuff that I gotta clean up, that I gotta process. There's stuff that I gotta untangle to see this clearly, because it's not that something isn't fully fitting. And as soon as I started to do that, and I was starting to reflect it, get some feedback reflected back at me from clients and from mentors and friends, they're saying stuff that I haven't heard in a long time. They're like, Oliver, that feels really right in my heart, like what you're saying. What? Who says that? Like sometimes people will be like, that's a great idea. That sounds amazing. Like that's going to be so good. But when someone says everything that you're saying, Oliver, with these realizations, that lands like right in my heart. I had 3 people say something along those lines. I'm like, wow, so things open up now. Like things feel a lot more aligned, because sure, I'm a student and I've learned many new things, but I got to find out like, how does that integrate with my own being? And so we have to remember ourselves. We have to come from a place of, authenticity about, how we want to show up. How do we take what we're learning and make it our own? And that's not straight. Like you can hear these words and it seems so simple, so straightforward. But my God, like if you're a coach, then you have self-awareness. If you have self-awareness, then you witness everything about yourself. And it's because of that, there ends up even being even more noise that's in the way of seeing something that could be, once you get that gem, it's like so obvious. You're like, what? Like, where was I? Or you can talk
I love that.
Yeah.
Remember yourself and reveal it. So good.
And reveal it. There's parts of myself like yoga and mindfulness and spirituality and God, and like plant medicines, and my relationship with that work has been so fundamental in many of these shifts and expansions in my purpose, where the freedom to be, to be open and like to reveal how these things have affected my life and share these things in a way. Like I love singing music and mantras and medicine music. And like, how do I find a way where I am speaking on stage, where I'm helping people have a better relationship with themselves? And, how do I help people create peaceful prosperity? How do you have those worlds converge together? Because I'm working on it. And so just share how it's happening for me. Like, what are the little things that are working for me? And it's all we're all experimenting with life, right? But we all have something that someone else doesn't have, right? You can coach
100%.
up, down, laterally. There's value that you can deliver to almost any type of person. It's a matter of recognizing, like, wow, who are you? Like, what? And you as a gift, not even like having gifts to give, but like being the gift that you are. I think that's what happens when you remember yourself. Just be with people, and there's this essence, there's this beauty and this power and this truth it's just there. If you remove these blocks and identities and old goals and expired purposes, and you're just who you are right now, and you're with people, that will the natural result is that it shines through. And when people receive that, it's like it shines a light where there's darkness in their life, and they're like, oh wow, I don't have that sense of intentionality in my life. Oh, I don't have that sense of grace and forgiveness for myself. Oh wow, I don't have that sense of excitement for something so simple. Like, and when we shine that light on those aspects of other people, we started this off about catalysts. Like, talk about catalysts. All of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I don't like they're being a way that I don't know if I can be, but if they can, it's possible.
Be the catalyst for people.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So good, Oliver. So, speaking of being the catalyst and shining your light, where can people go follow you, get more of you, get your book, all the things?
Yeah, so they can get my book. It will be at some point in the next couple of months. It'll be available on Amazon, but right now you can get it directly from me at olivermanalese.com. And you'll find access to the book, The Daily Prosperity Method there. It is a very potent toolkit, and that I've worked really hard on. And people have said, I feel like I did 3 months of coaching with you when I read this book. And a lot of people chose to listen to it. So it comes with like a 10.5-hour audiobook. So it's like getting a transformational coaching experience inside of a book. That's some of the feedback that I've gotten.
Amazing.
And for social media wise, you can check out where I'm at on LinkedIn and Instagram. I'm pretty active on there as well. And lots to be excited about, lots to be sharing, especially with a lot of these insights that I'm sharing with you, Kim. Like, this stuff's happening in real time. Like, this awareness of remembering myself. Like, it's like, oh, I know myself. It's like, nah, well, do you? And then you realize, oh, wow, there's always, like, it's a never ending process of like remembering who you are, reconnecting with who you are, because you're always evolving, you're always changing, you're always expanding in certain areas, contracting in certain areas. And we just got to kind of like catch up with ourselves. And then when you reconnect, you're like, oh, wow, things there's more ease, there's more peace. So like, I'm excited about what I'll be talking about more and sharing about more with this awareness.
Well, we will be sure to have your website and the book all linked up in the show notes. It looks amazing. I can't wait to dive into it. So, Oliver, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so grateful to Kevin for introducing us and getting to share your magic with our listeners.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. It's so cool to connect with you and to meet you finally. And I really admire the fact that so much of your work, I feel like it's, we're kind of on similar paths, right? We're trying to unlock people so that they can unlock their lives. And, for you, your dedication to the coaching, the coaching world itself, it needs a lot of that. It needs more love. It needs more healing. It needs more support, because like the need for help is it's greater these days, right? People are struggling, hurting, lost, feeling a lack of, excitement, purpose, money. Like people need a lot of problems solved, and they don't know where to go. And when people say, I'm going to coach others, I'm going to be a helper in this way, to me, that's an incredibly beautiful thing that is missing, and we 100% need more of. But the guidance is necessary, the inspiration, the example is necessary. And so I acknowledge you for, the role that you play in the coaching. What did you call it? The movement.
The coaching movement. It's a big one. Yeah. It's growing. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to Oliver for coming on today's episode. And if you want to get access to his book, The Daily Prosperity Method, and you want to get access to everything else that we talked about in today's episode, head over to theprofitablecoach.com/052. Big thanks to everyone who's been participating in our 50th episode celebration. I can't wait to announce on next week's episode who has won the drawing for a free TA coaching certification. Sending you guys big love, and I'll catch you next week.